It is a night practice today for the Buffalo Bills. Today is the return of the red and blue practice over at Highmark Stadium. It'll get underway at about 5:30. One injury note late from yesterday. Bills activated tackle Spencer Brown off the PUP list. We'll get more on practice as we get closer to the start. And coverage of Bills training camp from St. John Fisher University is brought to you by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys. By Outlet Liquor, when you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. And driven by your Upstate Honda dealers. For great deals on the entire Honda lineup, visit your Upstate Honda dealer today. Around the NFL, tempers beginning to flare in contract negotiations. Late yesterday, Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin requested a trade from Washington, and following suit, Dallas pass rusher Micah Parsons did the same today after posting a message on Twitter. In baseball, the Buffalo Bisons hosting Syracuse just after 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520, and then 3 games coming up just after 7 o'clock. The Blue Jays host the Royals, the Mets have the Giants in town, and the Yankees, they are down in South Florida to take on the Marlins. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
My dad's not here right now. He's still at work. So I'm going to blast him.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I'm going to see if there's a clean version so that my parents and the people at my school will not get mad at me. We've got the spritzer filled with water, just in case if stuff gets too fire. I'm going to set up the speaker, and I'm going to listen to
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I think this is the best
Mike Schopp
feature that I've heard in a long time. I think his flow is really good in it, and I like his aggressiveness on it. And
the Bulldog
put not enough effort in it. I think overall his flow was good, but I don't like that mumble rapping. That was my review of
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Didn't need the spritzer. Wasn't fire enough. No spritzer for you. No spritzer.
All right, I got some bad news for that kid. If you're not a fan of the mumble rapping, you've tuned into the wrong show, folks. Hey, good afternoon. I am the Bulldog. Mike continues to be on vacation. Sal Capaccio is going to be joining me live from the stadium site of tonight's return of the red and blue. Or is it the blue and red? I never keep it straight. Anyway, there's a practice at 5 o'clock, and so we will spend some time talking about the stadium today for sure. I think that's where we absolutely should start. There's big news in the NFL within the last 24 hours or so. Terry McLaurin, great Commanders. I didn't do that on purpose like people thought Aaron Rodgers might have. It was just an old habit. Demanded a trade yesterday, and today we've got Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys, elite edge rusher. So there's NFL news, and I don't know, one or both of those players, I think there are arguments to be made that the Bills should be trying to get in the mix if they can. I doubt it's realistic salary cap-wise, but I'm sure fans' minds are racing with the news of those two players looking to get out of their current situations. But I think the stadium is where I want to start today, Sal, because you're there, and I know you're there way more regularly than I am. But on a day like today, Mike and I have done our show on this day at the stadium in years past. Like pre-COVID, we would be out there for this practice. And it always resonated with me how, for me personally and professionally, it meant a lot to me the first time you go back to the stadium for work, how lucky we all are to go to the stadium for work. And that gets me almost emotional thinking about the team and just this life that I've been able to live here doing this. And so I don't know if you're like-minded because you're there way more often for work than I am, so maybe it's not as special. But the stadium and the first event in the final season of the stadium feels, I don't know, bigger than just an open practice to me.
For sure. First of all, good afternoon to you. Good to talk to you. Good to be here with you.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I know. I rushed right in.
No, that's all right. You had a lot of news there, but I'm reading here. I wanted to make sure it looked good, and I'm on the YouTube stream, and I'm reading in the bullpen, and I'm looking making sure the lighting is good and everything here inside the radio booth. I'm actually, you know where I am right now? I want everybody to know. I am in the national radio broadcast booth.
Okay.
So when Ross Tucker comes in and they do the games. and then next to me is the local radio booth, and then in front of me is the field. And if you just give me a moment for our viewers on YouTube and Twitch and wherever else, I'm going to show everybody here what the field looks like today, because I think it's part of the story, right? So this is where I am, and then I'm going to wheel you around here. This is Greg Harvey and Todd Brody. Say hi, guys. There you go. See, they saying hi.
Right.
Those are our engineers.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Todd. Happy birthday, Todd.
There you go. That's right. Happy birthday. That's our local. By the way, that's Todd there. He's our big voice guy. If you ever hear a lot of commercials on WGR, that's the guy who does the voice right there. So there you go.
And he's going into the Buffalo Broadcasting Hall of Fame this year. So congratulations to him. And I think I'm a day late on the birthday, but good for you, Todd.
Man.
Yeah.
All right. And then I'm going to lean over here, and here's the field. Can you see it? There you go.
All right. I have a little bit of a lag, so I'm still looking at Todd and Greg. But okay, now I see the field. Yeah.
There you go. And then you can see the field, and it looks beautiful. It's sunny, and you're right, Bulldog. When I take a look at this and I say this is where I get to watch games from at stadiums, and then I'm on the field, obviously, but pregame, I do pregame, and I get to sit here, and I've been here many times and be a part of this. It's pretty special. It's amazing. And you're right. It brings back a lot of memories when you think about all the times you've been here. I try to go through the many years that I've been here for this stadium for this particular night, and all the return. It is the blue and the red officially, but I agree with you. It's red and blue, and I think it's changed over the years. And I know that it's a great chance for me. What I always think about on a night like tonight is all the young kids who come to this stadium maybe for the first time ever, or maybe for the only time that year, right? Until maybe they get older. A lot of parents that we've talked to, you may have been one of them, but parents that we talk to all the time say, I just don't want to bring my kids to a game. They're too young, the crowd, everything that goes along with it. I totally get all of that. So I think that this is a chance for those people, those kids, those families, a night like tonight, to see Josh Allen, to come out here, and it's pretty special, right? It's really, really special. And the guys really take to it. They interact really well with the fans. Yep. And then today is even more special because on the way in, you see this incredible stadium going in across the street.
Have you had a chance to drive the 219 from like out in like Concord or Colden? Like if you get on the 219 from that area, like say at Rice Road, right, which is, pretty far out. But I've been out there. I got a good friend that lives off that exit, and I played golf last Saturday out in Concord in a scramble that I was invited to, which I had a great time with the folks there. And when there's like just after the Rice Road entrance, right, if you're getting on heading back towards the city, you're up real high, and there's a perch there where you can see the new stadium from out there. And I mean, it just looks, the first time I saw it was about a month ago. Maybe it was after the 4th of July. I think we were out there at my friend's house, spent the night, and then drove back the next morning. And it's incredible. Like I've never, the stadium you're in right now is so low into the ground that you can't even see it from out there. But this thing, it looks like some sort of spaceship sitting out there. It's incredible. Did Sale disappear? Did I just lose? Where did Sale go? Sale got disconnected. Really, if you get a chance to take that ride, I'm not saying take the ride just to do this, but you'll notice it right away. Do we got your back now? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. Some connection issues up here. It's preseason for everybody, right? We're working through some things. Tonight, we're actually doing a mock broadcast tonight, so I'll be on the field pretending to call a game with Chris Brown up in the booth. You won't hear it on the radio, everybody, because we have to practice what we do and to make sure that we're good for next week and the first preseason game. I have taken that ride, and I noticed it, and this was probably in the winter at some point.
Oh, okay.
In fact, when it was in the winter, the leaves aren't on the trees yet. So you can see even more because it just pops out right there because you have so much of a clearer view of it. And I have done that, and it's absolutely incredible. And when you really get closer to it and you realize how high it comes above the ground because of what you said, this current stadium goes down into the ground. 80 feet I think it is or something like that? Goes down into the ground at least. And, you only see, when you're at ground level, you see the top. You see the lights and the third deck. When you look across the street, you see the entire stadium.
Right.
It's so different compared to this one.
Yeah, it really is. It's a massive looking structure for sure. So the stadium, Sal, like I love how you laid that out about the kids, small kids, families that might be reluctant to bring little kids to a game. It's one of the reasons the Kids Day game has always been so popular for a preseason game. I think of it like this. Like I think we're close enough in age. Do you remember the Sabres open practices they would have during Christmas time? Like,
yep.
I used to go to maybe one game a year when I was a kid, if that. But we always went to the open practice. It was free, and, it was an opportunity to get in the building. And I feel the same way about the football stadium. Like, I think there are probably big Bills fans out there that either it's not convenient life-wise because of the age of their kids, or it's just a financial thing that they can't afford the tickets, that have an opportunity to come there. Like, I felt like I wanted to at least spend some time talking about the stadium today, because I think there should be. I'd be surprised if there's not some people in our audience who are going there for the last time today, even just because it's so convenient and inexpensive, as opposed to needing to get tickets to go to a regular season game. So the stadium was definitely on my mind, and I miss that feeling that I just described to you at the outset of this conversation of pulling in there on a day like this. Still the season is a little ways off on the horizon, but you start to feel it a little bit, and it's just, I'm at the place where the magic happens. And that's absolutely true of this current team right now. I think a lot of fans feel that way. It certainly was the case with the teams in the 90s, and in between, maybe not so great all the time, but still, the stadium has been around since 1973, and it's going away. Mm-hmm. And I like the opportunity to just sort of spend some time pondering, what it's meant to people and what it's meant to you. And, it's a little clumsy, I think, on a radio show to try to stack up the best events or the best moments that have taken place in the stadium. But I do just like thinking about it, which, I need to turn those thoughts into words here because we are on the radio. But I just think it's a time to sort of reflect on the stadium.
Yeah. By the way, this stadium broke ground on my birthday 1 year before that. It was April 4th of 72. And in 1973, I was born, and that was the first year this stadium opened. So I've lived my life in the same capacity as this stadium, which is kind of weird to me, right? That the first year, they started playing games here, which is pretty incredible for me to think about because of how old it is. Because I have now been in all but 3 current NFL stadiums. And the reason why I wasn't in those 3 is because of COVID. Las Vegas, San Francisco, where the Super Bowl is this year, and Arizona. So hopefully we'll knock San Francisco off this year. One of my favorite parts about my job, obviously, being in these stadiums, but that ride into a stadium every week when we go somewhere. It is one of my favorite parts of my job. When I'm on the bus going into the stadium, as you're describing, coming up, and you see it, right, where the magic happens. Now, maybe it's because of Tom Cruise and All the Right Moves. Remember when they're driving in and they're on the school bus, right? And you get that feeling and you see the stadium off in the hills and they're getting ready for that Friday night game, right? That's the feeling you get. And when you're a competitor, when you've played football and you know what Friday nights are about and Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons and Monday nights now, I mean, you see those lights and it becomes just something in you that it just starts percolating a little bit. So when we go to these other stadiums, we go to these cities, and I'm part of the Bills radio broadcast. I get on the bus, leave the hotel, and we head to Miami. We head to the Jets. We head to Foxborough. Could be Houston, wherever it is. And all of a sudden, the first time you are on the bus and you look over and you see that stadium, it starts to really build up inside you. And over the years, that's been a different experience at all these different places. And here, it's been so routine for so many years to come here to be a part of this, and especially now as my 12th year of being on the sidelines. And then now to come down that road and to see that stadium and just to think about what it's going to be to go into the new stadium like that in that same capacity, it just hits you a little bit different, right? Because this is it's not the oldest stadium in the league, but it's certainly one of the oldest that, I know that like Soldier Field, I've been in that one. What's a little bit Arrowhead and this, I think, are the same age maybe, or a year or two apart, I believe. So you have a few of these older stadiums, but most of them around the league, Bulldog,
are new,
very, very new, relatively new, really over the last 25 years, which is half the lifespan of this stadium.
Yeah, I mean the league has, critics of the league would say like they're in the stadium building business is like a sidelight business for the NFL with all these stadiums that have been popping up. Boy, yeah, the first time you see the stadium, Sal, like being on vacations as a kid, riding in a paneled station wagon,
Yes.
right? Cincinnati comes
There's
to
the
mind,
lights.
right? Yeah, you see the edifice. You're just like, wow, look at that. I was lucky enough as a little kid to go to some big Reds games in Cincinnati. It was like halfway, like really the first day's drive out of Buffalo. Cincinnati would be a stopping point, and we would, my family. I don't know how crazy about it my two sisters were, but we'd go see the Reds play. We did that a couple of different times. But like Atlanta would be the same kind of deal. Philadelphia, like any city with a ballpark or a stadium that you were driving by, like I always end up. It's bad now that I'm driving because I can't stop looking at the stadium. I don't know what it is.
Yep.
They're very
Me too.
appealing to me. It just sort of trips that wire from being a little kid and being like, oh, the stadium, look at the stadium. It's so cool. I can't
think
wait
it's
to go to the
because also
stadium.
you played sports. You played sports. Your kids played sports. Your son played at a very high level. All these different places they played in. You try to think of the people that have played there, what their lives are like, what it's like for them playing in these stadiums. We were in Lake Como, Italy, on this last trip that I went on, and I'm looking at a map, because we're going to do a walking tour, just me and Yana and Max. And I said, oh, like literally, like just a few hundred yards over there is a soccer stadium. Let's go that way. And we went, and they had a municipal soccer stadium. Looked like a small college soccer stadium. It was just super cool. And it's located right there in Lake Como. So then we start going down the rabbit hole. Who plays there? And then there's this little shop. You have to go in the store, right?
Yep.
You're at the stadium. You got to go in the store and look at the merch and what their logos are and all that. So no doubt about it. I think stadiums, just stadiums in general, whether you're talking about a 60-plus thousand or even 80,000 seat stadium, that this one used to be, or you're talking about a, 30,000 seat stadium, or even, 20 something, whatever it is, smaller ones, 16,000 for the, over at the downtown. It doesn't matter. Stadiums can be a very, very distinct part of the fabric and culture of any area, whether that's downtown or somewhere else. And it also gives, I think, purpose and meaning to a lot of places where these stadiums are. Orchard Park, New York, is pretty much on the map nationally because the Buffalo Bills play here, right? I mean, yes, Orchard Park's a beautiful town and all
Sure,
that,
but it would just be another suburban village.
Like
Yeah, right. Yeah.
100% Orchard Park. When I hear when you think about I only know college city names sometimes because of where the stadium is for that college, right? And I remember like when Rutgers won a big game and the announcer goes, it was a Pandemonium Piscataway or something. I'm like, oh, that's where they play, Piscataway. Now I always know that in New Jersey.
Right.
All right, Tuscaloosa, it doesn't matter. And, you go to all these different cities, and whether it's downtown or somewhere else, Foxborough. Who would know Foxborough, Massachusetts, except for the stadium? It becomes a life of its own to have a stadium there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to see that stadium, that soccer stadium in Italy. When we were in Spain last summer, we spent some time in Barcelona, and my wife and I took a tour on a bus, maybe the last day that we were there, as it turned out. We were there on the front end of the trip and then back there again after spending time elsewhere in the country for more than a week. And the Camp Nou was under massive construction. Like they've been doing a reconstruction. They've been playing there, I don't think, for 2 seasons maybe. But they're just getting ready to reopen it. But last summer, it was all just cranes, and like you couldn't even really you just couldn't even get close enough to it to feel it at all, which kind of was a bummer for me. But anyway, have you spent any time yet thinking about, because I'm sure there's going to be lots of pieces from us here at WGR and like all the media that cover the Bills, like ranking the events, ranking games, ranking moments. These are all different things, right? There can be a great moment within a game that isn't like the best game that's ever happened in the stadium. Naheem Hines, for instance, returning the kickoff against the Patriots after the Damar Hamlin near tragedy was an incredible moment. I would not say it's the greatest game ever, but it it's up there for a moment that I mean, I've never seen players and coaches on the sideline near or actually in tears before after an opening kickoff of a game. But that was really emotional. But as far as like the games go, have you thought at all about stacking them up yet, or is that still waiting for later?
I haven't, and sometimes I think about it and say maybe I should have done that already. Maybe it's, oh my gosh, I haven't been on this, and I'm getting to the point where it's just going to go by me, and I never really took time to digest it all, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to be in the moment, and you want to think about it. But I think because of shows like this, because of topics like this, because of people talking, to you about it, I'm part of the. I was interviewed extensively for that stadium series that WKBW is doing with Matt Bogey. Yep. It's amazing. It's really great. And I have a lot of memories that I went back and thought of to share myself being here at the stadium from being a child. My first game was 87, the strike season, the end of the year, New England. Bills lost that game. Sean McNamee, that game. Sean McNanny, that game, the fumble recovery. That was my first game ever here, but that morphs into me being here for 51-3 against the Raiders in the AFC Championship game.
I was at that Patriots game too.
Oh,
I wasn't my first game. I'm a little bit older than you, but I was at that game. I didn't go to a lot of games, Sal. I worked on Sundays, the pizza business, right? So, but still, I was at that game in '87. I also don't want to give away too much, but I participated in something for a local sports reporter that I think the piece will be coming out at some point, but I sort of I've gone through and sort of, picked out games that I thought needed to be highlighted. So I have been thinking about it. And I'll just quickly say, like, to me, the debate, I think, will often come down to two games. If you're talking about the most memorable, best, however you want to phrase it, games in the stadium's history, I think we're in for like a duel at noon at the flagpole between 51-3 and the greatest comeback game. Like, I think those two games,
no doubt,
are the two best contenders for what's the best time you had in the best game in the stadium. And the funny thing about it is, I think it's sort of a referendum on what it is you like about it, and it's how you're wired, right? One game is an absolute curb stomping to the point where the second half is just a party, and there's no denying that that's incredible, and it's fun and so meaningful to go to the first Super Bowl in the team's history. Like, there's a lot of meaning behind that. And then the comeback game is an incredible sporting event, right? Like, people that aren't even Bills fans would tell you that it's one of the greatest games they've ever watched, probably because of just what it was, that incredible comeback and all that represented. So even though the stake wasn't as big, I feel like for me, when I had to turn in my list to this reporter I'm referring to, and I don't know how it'll turn out, because I think he's polling a lot of people in the area that work in media about this. I voted, like, my top game is the comeback game, because as a sporting event, I think it's just almost transcendent. Whereas 51-3, as a fan, like, I wasn't in the stadium that day. You were, so maybe we will feel differently about this. But I was watching that game. It was unseasonably warm where I was living in New Haven, Connecticut at the time. At 41-3 at halftime, we went to the park and played basketball, and came back for the fourth quarter, because we were just like, it's 41-3. Let's just go. We're all fired up on so much energy. Let's go do something. So we went, and we were gone for 45 minutes. We missed most of the third quarter, and it didn't matter. And, like, I don't know, I have a hard time feeling like that's the best game in the history of the stadium if you didn't need to watch the second half,
See, I disagree with you. I think it is the best game ever.
Yeah.
I was there.
I love it.
And the reason for me is exactly what you said. It was a party in the second half. When you were in a communal event of everyone for an hour plus of knowing this team is going to the Super Bowl, there's nothing anyone can do about it. We can all enjoy it together inside this stadium. That's what made it special. That's why that game was great. There were I've shared this before, and I'll say it again. There were 3 chants I remember that went up in this game. Thank you, Bills. Thank you, Bills. And then it was Super Bowl, Super Bowl. And then, believe it or not, thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Ralph.
Wow.
And I say believe it or not because, Bulldog, That was not the case leading up to that for several years, right? Like Ralph Wilson was vilified for not spending money on the team. And the party in the second half of that game, knowing you're going to the Super Bowl and the eyes of the nation were on you. Remember, we're in the Gulf War and everything's going on right there. And it was just such in the feelings you got knowing that's why it's the best game. I'm getting chills thinking about it. I sat in the first row of the upper deck right across from where I'm sitting right now looking at that. And to me, that is the number one game, number one moment in this stadium. Now, I was actually not at the comeback game. One of the only people in Western New York who wasn't, by the way, at the comeback game. One of the only 2 playoff games that entire run I did not go to. And I'll always contend, it was a great moment, of course, everything, but it was a terrible game for a half plus, just like the comeback, because the Bills were getting killed and it was terrible, right? And you were like, I want to get out of here. I'm sure people were like that. But the moment there, I would say, though, if you're of a certain age, you wouldn't know either of these games.
Right.
And maybe you would choose the Patriots' perfect game to be here because of what the Patriots represented to the Bills at the time. Or if you're even older, and I don't remember this, I was 7, maybe the Dolphins in 80 and the goalposts coming down would be that game. Because I do think those 2 games can be regarded as maybe the best game for somebody who was there for those 2 reasons.
Yep. Those games are both on the list. I think I was asked to rank 1 through 25 or something. So they make the cut. I wouldn't put them at the top, but yeah, you're right. Age, of course, matters because your experiences are, like I'm not here to tell you about how great, any of the AFL games were because I didn't live through them, so I don't have it. And I don't think my dad was interviewed for this story that I'm talking about being a part of. So anyway, all right, we're up against a break here. You sit tight. We've got our buddy Sam Panayotovich from Bet Sweats coming up at 3:30. We'll talk about some NFL futures. I want to get into some college football with Sam as well. I'm curious to see what we get from Sam because I did receive a picture of him in a golf cart with what looked like an alcoholic drink a while ago. So I don't know what kind of shape we're going to find our buddy Sammy P in. He's a pro. I'm sure he'll be ready to roll. Anyway, we've got that coming up next. I'll talk to Aaron Quinn at 5 o'clock. Sal's going to have to leave me at 5 to go get ready to take part in this practice broadcast that he's doing with Chris Brown at this open practice at the stadium today. So anyway, Aaron Quinn from Cover 1 will be with me at 5. That's what we've got coming for you. Sammy P coming up right after this, along with Sal Capaccio live at Highmark Stadium. I'm the Bulldog, and you're listening to WGR. Just recently airborne on a Friday afternoon here. I am the Bulldog. Sal Capaccio is with us from Highmark Stadium, where the Bills are having their annual evening practice at Highmark Stadium in front of their fans. So Sal is there getting ready to cover that. He'll be with us until about 5 o'clock. Joining us right now on the West Her hotline is from, well, for now, as my knowledge, is parts unknown, our buddy Sam Panayotowicz, Sammy P from Bet Sweats. You hear him on the Bet 1520 on weekday mornings here, our sister station in town. And I don't know, Sam, I got a picture from you at about 10:30 this morning from a bar, and then I saw a tweet with like what looked to be a cocktail in a golf cart. So I'm guessing you're having a day.
I've had a couple Josh Allens, so be it. The tequila transfusions, but, you know, I'm a professional Bulldog. I can still handle a little radio here. By the way, I'm very excited to talk to Sal because he's the only guy that you guys ever toss to that has one name. He's like Sting or Drake or Madonna. It's always, Sal's coming up today.
I love it. I love it. Sammy P, man, what's going on? Thanks a lot. I love talking to you, too. I'm here inside the radio booth at Highmark Stadium. It is the first event of the final season here in what will be, a 52, 53-year-old stadium, whatever the math is now. But holy cow, I mean, it is it's something special this year. And they're getting it kicked off with this open practice. And then, you know, obviously Bills fans, Sam, really hope that it ends the right way this year, which is winning an AFC championship on the road to a Super Bowl.
Well, let's talk math. I mean, you brought math up. The Bills have the highest win total in the NFL at 12.5, and they're co-favored to win the Super Bowl. That's where you guys are at. That's sort of where Vegas is on it, at least. I mean, you look at a couple books, and they're 6-1, 650, 7-1. They have either the first or second highest power rating in the league, depending on who you ask. Some people say Baltimore. Others say Buffalo. I'm sorry. I don't trust the quarterback in Baltimore. And I also don't understand how they go from this run-it-down-your-throat team in the regular season to, all right, we're going to go 4 wide in the playoffs. I've never understood it. But the Buffalo Bills are co-favored to win the Super Bowl. And those are the expectations, guys.
Well, put it in the bank then.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I'm curious, from your perspective, obviously we know the Bills have the NFL MVP in Josh Allen. He's terrific. They have a really good roster, coaching staff, front office. But how much of that is also the division they play in and the competition and giving them an opportunity to be in position to be that team?
So I've told Mike and Bulldog this for a year now. They basically have a stranglehold, from my perspective, on the division, a lot like Brady and Belichick used to. Now, obviously, you can't compare the two teams because they're very different in many ways, but the division stinks, in terms of a metric Las Vegas standpoint. And, that's why their win total is so high, because they should feast on the Patriots, who are rebuilding, the Dolphins, who are drowning, no pun intended, and then the Jets have Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. So it certainly plays into it. Sal, I don't know if you know, I've been tying Bills' division to basically everything that isn't nailed down.
Wow.
So
yeah, there you go.
If they don't win this division, like I made a bet yesterday. It was Bills to win the East and Vikings to win the NFC North. It's 5-1. I think that's a good bet, but I'm trying to parlay Buffalo AFC East with a lot of things. I'd be stunned if they didn't win this division.
Yeah. Sam, speaking of the stadium going into its final year, now I want to get this straight. We know each other pretty well. I know you live now in Boston. Are you native to Chicago, though?
Yes.
Right. So have you gone through any, was it emotional when Comiskey Park was replaced, or was it like a godsend? Like, is there any, because Wrigley is still there, Soldier Field is still there, you're in Boston now, Fenway, obviously, you weren't there when they changed hockey rinks and the Garden went away. Have you been through, saying goodbye to a place that meant something to you?
When I was 5, they closed the doors on Chicago Stadium, which is where the Bulls and Blackhawks, played forever. I was a kid, and the Bulls had Jordan, Pippen, and Horace Grant. Blackhawks had Chelios and Roenick. That building went down in, I believe, '94. Don't quote me on that, but I was a kid. I was only 2 when Comiskey went down, and that new place has never been anything I've been a big fan of. But no, Chicago Stadium, I have vivid memories of being in there, and in fact, I was at the Scottie Pippen charity game when he kissed the court. It was one of the last things they were ever going to do at the old stadium, and he knelt down and kissed center court. Michael was a Birmingham Baron at the time, But yeah, Chicago Stadium went down when I was 5. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, all right. That definitely works, and that time frame is probably around right. Our new build, the new building here in Buffalo for hockey and basketball, even though we don't have an NBA team, went up in '96 or opened in '96. So like that was it. Like mid '90s was when that really started happening around leagues like that. So
I'm curious, Sam. How much, when I was a kid, they would always say in home field, you give 3 points to the home team in football. Speaking of these new stadiums, a lot of these new stadiums, they don't have home field advantages. I said to Bulldog, I've been to every stadium except for 3 in the NFL, and the only reason I haven't been to those 3 was due to COVID, the year we didn't travel on the radio broadcast. And I will tell you, there is not a good home field advantage a lot of times you go to these places. It's corporate partners. It's not that loud. This is a different stadium. The way it's built, the passion of the fans. How much does truly home field matter when it comes to betting these days?
So you're right, Sal. For years, for decades, it was 3. Everybody thought it was 3. And that changed about 10 years ago. They started dropping it. And it depends on who you ask. A lot of Vegas guys will now tell you it's about 1.6 or 1.8. But, it could change. It could skew. Say Seattle's at home in the snow, or the Patriots are at home in the wind, or we're at Arrowhead, or we're in Buffalo. Like, those places are worth a little bit more. But you're seeing a big-time drop. And some people would say, well, from 3 to 1.6, that's not a big deal. You're cutting the number in half. I mean, that's a huge deal. So, yeah, home field for the most part on average is about 1.6 to the line. Yeah,
I think, travel being more convenient probably has some part in that too, but the stadiums, I think, are probably, I don't know, maybe it's what do you think? Is it a mix of those two things, or is one a bigger influencer than the other, you think?
I think travel, to your point. I mean, these guys are flying private for the most part. They're staying in fancy hotels, and they are the most trained athletes of all time. So I think people have understood that, maybe in the 1970s or 80s, home field was worth 3 because guys were sleeping at the Ramada Inn and taking, horrible flights on AWA Airlines or whatever. But or ATA, sorry, not AWA, ATA. You're on vacation. Yeah, it's a lot of that acceleration, but. There were betting groups like Billy Walters' group forever thought that the home field was overvalued, and those guys made millions and millions of dollars taking small underdogs.
Sam Panayotovich.
By the way.
Oh, go ahead, Sal. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, by the way, I have 2 of those 3 things. I travel with the team as part of the radio crew. I am on the nice chartered plane. I am in the fancy hotel, but I do not have the same access to the training for me playing in my flag football league that these guys have, Sam. Just want you to know that.
Okay, I was concerned. Thanks for confirming that.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, Sam Panayotovich, co-host with Joe Ostrowski, our friend who will be back with us during football season for a weekly visit. Sam, kind enough to do this all year round with us here. You hear Bet Sweats 9 to noon Eastern on the Bet 1520 here in Buffalo or on the Odyssey app. Sam, while we're on the NFL, I won't ask you because I know you don't have your regular database in front of you. You're busy with these Josh Allen tequila drinks that I only just found out exist today, by the way, from you. I guess I'm not doing my homework here in Buffalo. If the Cowboys' win total is being affected by Micah Parsons demanding a trade today or asking to be traded, demand might be strong. But not good news for our division winners bet, where the Cowboys were the longest shot to win the division, and now we've got more unrest with Dallas. What do you make of what's going on there?
Well, it's not good for sure. And, if you go back to 2020 and look at defensive pressure rate, the Dallas Cowboys are number 1 in the NFL. And he's one of the biggest reasons for that, of course, Micah Parsons, who's been a star since he's been in the league. I think we got a good number, though. I mean, we were betting, 7-1, 6-1, and then it cratered to about 5-1, 550. But there's variable change at all times in professional sports. And, that defense will look a whole lot different. And, people will always try and put a number on Micah Parsons, like what's he worth? Well, I can tell you this, in their primes, guys like Lawrence Taylor, Deion Sanders, Aaron Donald, those guys are all worth about 3 points to the line. That might not sound like a lot, but it's insanely a lot for one player to be worth that much. And, Parsons is probably in that 2 range, maybe 2.5. So it's going to affect him if he actually does get dealt. And, the problem with Dallas, anything Dallas future-wise is buckled into the fact that Philly just won the Super Bowl and Washington went to the frickin' NFC title game. So It's a tall hill to climb. The win total is either 7.5 or 8.5. If they don't have Micah, I certainly don't like our bet, Bulldog. But
right.
the thing about our bet was you were banking on health from Dak and Micah, and when those guys play, 3 straight years they go 12-5. When they don't stay on the field, they're bad. And if he's not going to be there, that changes everything in Dallas. And, by the way, Matt Eberflus, as a Bears fan, Matt Eberflus stinks on defense. So he's the coordinator on that side of the field and could be really, really messy there if he's actually gone.
Yeah, I don't like the sound of any of this. What about McLaurin with Washington? Is there that's not a meter mover, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, Terry's worth about, I hate to minimize Terry's impact. He's worth about a point, maybe a 1.5, depending on who you ask. Receivers at their height are worth about 2. Books respect Terry, but Terry's not going to affect the win total or the division or conference market. I still, though, man, I look up and I see the Commanders like 10, 12-1 to win the Super Bowl, and I would never make that bet. I hate to be hyperbolic on your program, but if you gave me $100, I would never pick the Commanders 12-1 to win the Super Bowl. That's never happening for me.
What about the other? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask, what about the other conference? And we're talking about some of these needle movers, right? You have the Trey Hendricks situation going on in Cincinnati, right? And where they are right now. Isaiah Likely, I know he's not a needle mover necessarily, but he's a big part of what they do. Like, what about the other conference? Does it just really come down to Mahomes and Allen as long as they're healthy? Or, how do you see some of the other teams, their big players, and what they're dealing with?
So if you're looking for a bet, I'm just trying to steer clear of the AFC sale because it's so good. I could make a case for 4, maybe 5 teams to win it. In the NFC, though, you're going to get rewarded if you go down the board. And I'll tell you what, I think one of the biggest hires, and you know this, Sal, covering the league, having 2 coordinators that know what they're doing is a big deal. And I look to the NFC, and I looked at Philly last year when Bulldog and Mike and I started talking, and Philly was 7-8-1 to win the conference. And I looked at Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio and thought, that's a good mix. Well, this year I feel that way about San Francisco. Bringing Robert Saleh back to run the defense, to me, is a huge deal. And, yes, they may have lost some guys in name value, guys like Hufanga that have had, stature in the league. But, they had a good draft. I think they got younger, they got quicker, and schematically, there are not many teams, guys, in the NFC that have a Kyle Shanahan on offense and a Robert Saleh on defense. I look at that win total, 10.5. I think that's an over. The schedule is very, very soft. And also, you can bet them now. San Francisco last year to win the conference was 3-4-1. Now they're 9 or 10-1. And I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid there, but I love the price. People are selling them, and I'm kind of buying them.
Yeah, they got to be a real good choice. Not that I don't think you can get action on this, but I know you and Joe at one point earlier this summer talked about worst to first. That's something that happens pretty regularly in the NFL. Almost every year there's a team that does it. I'm not sure if there was one last year or not, but it happens more often than not by a lot. And the Niners were last place last year. They had an injury, just a lost season. So I'm kind of with you there. I think that they are due for a bounce back, even though they don't have Debo anymore.
Yeah, McCaffrey, you could find Christian McCaffrey, who by all accounts is very healthy. Obviously, health is more than half the battle in this league. But Christian McCaffrey, you can bet 20-1 Offensive Player of the Year. I think that's an insanely disrespectful price.
Sam, I know from talking to you earlier in the day, before the Josh Allen tequila drink started happening, you mentioned something about Joe Burrow getting some action on the MVP odds.
Yeah, he's one of the co-favorites. You look at the board for title, and we're talking about the heavy hitters, right? We're talking Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles. The Bengals are way down the board, but then you look at the MVP market, and it's, it's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Jackson. Oh, there's Joe Burrow at 6-1, 7-1. I don't know that their defense is any good, guys. I mean, they're going to have to be the first to 28 a lot of games. But what he did last year, if they were a better team, if they were better defensively, he's right there for MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, not to take anything away from Josh. I mean, we talked about on this show betting Josh week 1, week 2 at 9-1, and that came through. Burrow, though, 6-1, I don't know, because they got to win 10 or 11 games, and I have a lot of doubts about that defense. It's very bad, and Pro Football Focus, guys, also has Cincy 31 of 32 on the offensive line. That is not good.
Yeah, you got to have some faith, maybe, if you want to back the Bengals or back Burrow for that award, that it's going to be one of these deals where the groupthink is just going to be wrong. Like they'll figure out Hendrickson and that the defense somehow will be better. New coordinator, whatever it is, that they will find a way to, at least cobble something where they can be middle of the pack even. Because I think with that offense, with Chase and Higgins, and of course Burrow pulling the trigger there, I think if that defense is like ranked 20th, they probably are a 12-win team.
Yeah, they could be the number 2 or 3 offense in the league, and I wouldn't be surprised. They could also be the 29th best defense in the league, and I wouldn't be surprised. Right.
Before we wrap up, there are a couple things that I wanted to touch on with you. We don't talk a ton of college football on this show, but I know you guys have been digging in somewhat here as we're ramping into August now, August 1st today, and week 0 is right around the corner for the college football schedule. What is there to be done right now for someone who wants to get action in on college football? Like what are you tailing right now?
Well, if anybody listened to us a couple weeks ago, we talked about Carson Beck to win the Heisman, 37-1 at FanDuel. That number is now about 20, 22. So kudos to you if you followed along with that. Not that means we're going to win, but that's a good sign. I think in week 1, Miami's a really good bet. They were catching 3. They're home against Notre Dame. It's a big game. Irish went to the title game, lost to, of course, Ohio State. But I think Ohio State kind of exposed a lot of the offensive issues there at Notre Dame. And now they turn the car over to a young quarterback in C.J. Carr. And I just think Miami is just so much more equipped to handle adversity early. Miami was catching 3 at home. Now it's 2.5. I think that's a really good bet. And then my favorite win total, guys, this will make you laugh. I love Toledo this year. Toledo in the MAC over 8.5. They added a running back from Ohio State and a running back from Virginia Tech in the portal. Usually the MAC gets pillaged. Toledo got better in the offseason, and I love over 8.5. I
love it. All right, I have to ask you about my Syracuse Orange. I have to ask my Syracuse Orange. Fran Brown. Yeah, we love what he's doing there, but they have a tough schedule, a lot of ranked opponents. They're starting with Tennessee and Atlanta. But, man, it looks like at least they're finally back to a team that can compete, maybe go to bowl games each year. What are we looking at?
Yeah, they should. They should win 7 or 8 games. I think that's the expectation there. I will note, though, that their best receiver, I thought last year, was Pena, and now he's at Penn State. Penn State added 3 receivers in the portal. Penn State is favored, guys, in a lot of guys' power ratings. Like, a lot of people are telling me in Vegas that Penn State is the best team in the country. We'll see. They also have James Franklin. We'll see. But Hughes should win 7 or 8, and they should be right there for a bowl game, no doubt.
We are doing a show with a guy that hosts a show called Bet Sweats when he's bringing up Toledo. I love Toledo, he's telling us here. Sam, last thing. I texted you about this yesterday. I don't know if you found any info. You said there used to be a site for it, but I was wondering. I like, how I like I like to build up the odds. I'm playing the lottery practically when I'm putting in bets. I don't do it every day or anything. But 4-game, 5-game parlay, and of course the juice is always on in baseball, the team that's minus 1.5. And I found out that 28% of games in Major League Baseball, I don't know if this is year over year or this year, but 28% of games are 1-run games. So that's a ding right there. The reason I ask is because, I might just be really bad at it, but most of these parlays I put in, I don't just, it's not like, if only Oakland would have covered. It's like 4 out of 5 lose. It's just like, it's good, the favored team, and it just does not hit. I'll bet that the books would rather we not know how rarely a team minus 1.5 in baseball actually covers.
So, if only Oakland covered is something we tell our priests, right, at church. Isn't that exactly what we do at church? So I did ask a couple guys about your run line question, and they said, here's what they responded with. The home run line, they said, according to the math, is one of the worst bets in the league because you lay it, run and a half.
Yep.
But you don't get that. You're not guaranteed to get that 9th at bat, Bulldog.
Right.
And a lot of people will take that home team and lay a run and a half, and the math is not in your favor. I was told to tell you if he's going to do the run line, Do it on the road where the team is guaranteed a ninth at bat.
I like this advice a lot. I'm so glad I asked you, and you went to the well, and the well responded. This is a very good day for me. Thank you for that, Sam.
Well, imagine if I was sober, how good the tips would be.
Sam, thank you for fitting us in. We appreciate it as always. Enjoy. Where are you? Are you golfing somewhere? I saw a golf cart, I think, right?
Yeah, we're Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Beautiful. 80 degrees, no clouds.
All right, man. Enjoy it. Cheers. Enjoy the Josh Allens. Sal, do you know what a Josh Allen is? You've heard of this drink?
No, I have not. I've seen the Josh Jack cereal, right? We have that. But no, what about this drink? What is this?
So, according to Instagram, and that's a very good source because it came out of his mouth, he does the transfusion, but he does it with tequila. So it's tequila, grape juice, splash of lime, splash of ginger ale. That's a Josh Allen.
Okay.
Good to know.
Kind of reminds me of the Mickey Mantle Breakfast of Champions back in the day. Go look that thing up, and that's the next thing on the menu there.
All right. Sam, thanks a lot for this.
Sam, great to talk with you, buddy.
Yeah.
A lot of fun, boys. Always is. See ya.
All right, cheers, bud. That's Sam Panayotovich, Sammy P on Twitter, and, of course, co-host of Bet Sweats, 9 to noon weekdays on the Bet 1520. You can also find it on the Odyssey app. We will hit up a timeout here. Sal will continue with me for the next hour. We'll talk more about the stadium, maybe about Micah Parsons and or Terry McLaurin as we go here. Lines are open if you want to get in, share any stadium stories. We'd love to hear them here. So we're just like kind of cracking the door open for that. I think this will be a subject that comes up probably pretty frequently once the season gets even closer and maybe even during the season, depending on how the season is going. So we'd love to hear from you if you've got anything to add about the stadium and how you're feeling as we are here on the day of the first event of, or at least football event anyway, of the final year of Highmark Stadium. Sal Capaccio's there at Highmark Stadium. Mike is away today along with Zach Jones. I am the Bulldog, and you're listening to WGR.
Manny's here.
And the Bulldog
And don't even talk to me about weed.
on WGR Sports Radio 5.
The video. 1,000 people are watching it at one time. 8 people have clicked the like button, and that's offensive. In that community, no. Just please go out of your way, if you must, and just click on the thumbs up. Do we have the thumbs up? We do. Yeah, all right. Please click the like button.
Yeah.
It helps to grow. I believe it helps to grow the program.
Does it tell
the algorithms like it when you get more likes?
Does it reveal the identity of the person clicking the like?
Not on YouTube.
Okay, I'm going to click it.
Night practice today for the Buffalo Bills. It is the return of the red and blue practice over at Highmark Stadium. That's going to get going just about an hour and a half at 5:30. One injury note from last night was that the Bills have activated tackle Spencer Brown off the PUP list. We'll get more on practice as we get closer to the start of that. And a reminder, the coverage of Bills training camp from St. John Fisher University is brought to you by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys. By Outlet Liquor, when you need to stock up, it's the place to buy case. What's your outlet? By Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. And driven by your Upstate Honda dealers for great deals on the entire Honda lineup. Visit your Upstate Honda dealer today. Big news in the NFL. Tempers beginning to flare in contract negotiations. Today, Dallas pass rusher Micah Parsons has requested a trade out of Dallas, saying in a post on Twitter he does not want to be with Dallas anymore, and even went further on to talk about how disrespected he has been during the process of the negotiations, his agent also being closed out during these negotiations. Last night, it was also Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who did the same, though did not post on Twitter to do so. And then in baseball tonight, Bison's hosting Syracuse just after 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. And then 3 games coming up just after 7 o'clock. The Blue Jays host the Royals. The Mets have the Giants in town, and the Yankees, they are down in South Florida to take on the Marlins. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Mike Schopp.
Hey, put a little. I never get this line out the first time. It's not even good. Hey, put a little bit more in there, cowboy.
And the Bulldog.
What's your degree in?
Kicking ass and taking names.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Happy you've chosen to spend some of your Friday afternoon with us here at WGR. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp has been away for the back end of this week and will be on vacation next week as well. I am the Bulldog. Zach Jones alongside. I've got Sal Capaccio hanging out at Highmark Stadium. We will be continuing to have Sal for this hour, and then 5 o'clock comes and the practice begins there. That's why he's there, and he'll be tied up doing, well, they'll do like a mock broadcast. It won't be on the air, but they do a practice run because there is a preseason game next Saturday. I mean, it's here, folks. There was a game last night, a preseason game that very fittingly, I loved, you know, the kids say, we are so back, right? Like that's a very, I don't know, even the kids, but I got there just in time to hate on Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has always annoyed me ever since he acted like a teenage kid when he won a game in Detroit against Jim Schwartz. And like, I just think he's super obnoxious. So not a fan. And I turn the game on, and there he is pounding Trey Lance's shoulder pads. Like, oh, here we go. Like, oh, my God, dude. And then the game starts, and we've got a fumble on the opening kickoff, and, of course, there's a review. And it's like, okay, here we are. It's all back in all its glory. Here is the NFL. Something else that was featured in the game, Sal, was the new first down. Are they calling it, is it called Hawkeye, like the tennis thing? Like what is the name for it? But we saw like a measurement that was not the chain gang.
It's Hawkeye technology, like in tennis, but they're not spotting the ball like Tennessee. I didn't watch the game last night, but apparently Chris Collinsworth said, "Oh, it's just like tennis." And as Jeremy was pointing out, it's not just like tennis. They're not spotting the ball or telling you where the ball is based on the technology. So the officials will still spot the ball. Nothing changes. Like, let's go back to the AFC Championship game last year. We all know the controversy. That would not change anything what they're doing. Like, the officials are still saying, this is where I think the ball is.
Right.
Nothing changes with that. There's no chip in the ball that's going to determine anything different. They're going to put the ball down. What's different now, though, is once it's put down, they're going to use this electronic technology now to say, is it a first down? And it's going to basically have some sort of whatever, some sort of laser or however they want to do it and show and go, okay, there it is. It's a first down. It reached the line to gain. And if it is, that where they're not going to stop the game and bring out the chains. We have not seen chains come out anyway over the last few years very often. But now they're not going to do it. And the way Sean Smith described it to us in the media is they're going to show it on the big board, on the screen, in the stadium. So they'll show it on TV, and it's going to be kind of like a, I don't know, in that regard, I would say like tennis, right? Which is, oh, there it is, right? When you watch a tennis match.
Right.
Here's the thing that's really weird, though, okay? And I can't wrap my head around this right now, and I didn't watch last night to see it. So there still will be down markers on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
So the ball starts, let's say, at the 35. You have a person with the 35. You have a person at the 45 with a down marker. There's no chain that connects it, though. There's just two down markers.
Mm-hmm.
And you might think, well, wait a minute. My first thought is, how do you know then where exactly 10 yards are? You could be a little off if you're the other person, right?
Right.
But I think the answer is this, and I'm going to give credit to Carl Jones, our buddy from Channel 4, who brought this up to me, and I said, you're right, Carl, that's exactly right. Over the last couple of years, the NFL made a change. It was a subtle change, but they did this. When there's a first down, it's just on first downs, they do not place the ball at in the half like hash mark. If it's a first down at the 41.5, they put it at the 42 or the 41. They put it there. So therefore, now go back to what I just said about no chain. The person on the other end will know exactly where to put it. Now, during the play, if it's second down or third down, it's just spotted where it's spotted. But when you do have a first down, they no longer use only the hash marks right where they are.
Will they always be rounding up?
It's a good question. I think they do. I think they always round up. Maybe it's the closer one. Maybe it's round up or round back. Maybe they determine if it's closer. That could be what it is. I don't know if it's round up or down. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But that would solve my dilemma in my own brain of, wait a minute, how does the person on the other end of the 10 yards know where to put it?
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And so at least that part of it. I feel like the whole thing is a giant nothing burger in the end, because of the fact that the 60-year-old, not to pick on 60-year-olds, I'm 60. I don't think you shouldn't want me standing on the sideline trying to figure out in a schmozzle of bodies where the football is when Josh Allen is trying to pick up a 4th and 1 in the AFC Championship game. I might not be great at that, right? So the fact that part remains, that's always been. Look, the chain gang is antiquated, and Mike has said it many times. Like, we've got all this technology, and we've still got these guys running out there with the chains, and it just kind of looks ridiculous. I get it, but it's never been the most problematic part of the ball spot and whether it's a first down or not. Correct. It has to do with the person that is running in and getting overruled by the other guy who saw it different or whatever it is. That problem still exists. I don't care how they're determining whether it's a first down or not. That's never been a problem. It's where the ball is put. And if you're not fixing that, I got no time for any of this. Listening to them talk about it on the broadcast last night, like it was just some great breakthrough. It's like, what are we talking about? This is it's nothing. All you're doing is removing the specter of the guys running in with the chains. And again, like, it looks a little silly, but it was a fine system for determining whether you got the 10 yards or not. The problem is who's putting the ball on the ground. Always has been.
I agree with you, and I would say this. I don't think the NFL did any of this to correct any sort of problem. I think all they did was just try to speed up the game.
Yeah,
that's the issue, right? Which is they weren't even looking at it as we have a problem. They're looking at it as how can we be more efficient and speed up the game. And I'm going to be honest, I like the chains coming out. It created drama. I like that part of the game. It was really cool. Oh, they're going to bring the chains out. Guys, clear. We got to get the referee to take a look. I've been on a football field where a referee put a credit card or it looks like the credit card.
Index card or something.
He put it on the chain to see if it would go and touch the football. Right? Like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's totally drama.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do that anymore. Now, you could have drama still with this whole thing on the scoreboard. Let's hit the button. Let's see if it's there. Let's reveal what's behind door number 1.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Monty Hall now. All right, let's go. We could do that. I get it. But you're right. This doesn't solve the issue of what has come up, and especially in what we saw the AFC Championship game last year, and what people have been talking about since then. But I don't think the NFL believes they have an issue with that. Or if they do think they have an issue, I don't think they've thought at all that they need to in some way address it or recognize it, to be more honest with you.
Yeah, the chip in the ball for the goal line for this, I honestly have no idea how cumbersome that technology would be. How quickly someone who would be operating parts of that technology could set the 10-yard grid, a team's in hurry up or something, and maybe there's some honest logistical reason why you can't really do it. But that's the fix. Like, anybody, I've seen this, I think, numerous times over the months since this it was announced that they were going to use this Hawkeye technology. Like, oh, look at this, the Bills lose a playoff game and there's another rule change. Like, yeah, no, this does not fix what happened in the AFC title game on that quarterback sneak at all. It's just the ball's going where the ball's going. That hasn't changed at all. So I don't know. To me, it's a lot of the NFL to some extent taking a bow for doing nothing, really. All they did was change how we're going to find out whether it's a first down or not. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't really need any of it, and I think I knew all that already, but just seeing it yesterday, and you know how it's the first broadcast of the year. They want to show off the new thing. Oh, look at this! Look how we do this now. And I'm like, Yeah, no, that, I don't care. Thanks for nothing. NFL is where I end up on that. So anyway, let's talk a little. We'll hopefully get back to the stadium here before you have to leave us at 5, Sal. But
can I mention, by the way, by being in the stadium right now, the gates have opened. It is awesome watching so many people filter down and these kids running down to be near the wall. Like, it is just. Yeah. It's amazing, like to see the sea of red, white, and blue, the jerseys everywhere. By the way, go back and watch a football game from the 80s. Like, nobody wore jerseys in the stadiums. Nobody wore gear. It's just like regular hockey, doesn't matter. It's hockey, football, baseball, everybody's just got like regular clothing. Now it's all your team colors everybody wears. But I'm watching this right now, Bulldog, and people are coming in the stadium, and they're just flowing down by the wall, and kids everywhere, and it's just great, and this is what this is all about. I love that. And of course, next week is the preseason game. It's Kids Day, Kids Game, because it's the only preseason game. And I had to just go out to the, when you walk outside where we are in the radio booth here, and we go out to where you first walk in the entrance, I had to do that to go grab my credential for today. And I walk out there, and the first person I see walking in is Daryl Talley. Just now, about 10 minutes ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he's here tonight for this.
That is fantastic. I hope that's in some sort of team-related capacity that he'll be available.
I don't know. I didn't have time to ask, but I'm like, whoa, what's up? We said hi to each other. He walked by. He looks great still, by the way. Daryl always looks good. And then, but anyway, he is here tonight. So I am wondering if there's something, going on with that.
All right, awesome. Good to hear that. All right, what I wanted to ask you about is the trade demands. Terry McLaurin, Washington, Micah Parsons, Dallas. McLaurin was yesterday, I think, during our show, right at the end of the show. And then Parsons is this afternoon just before I got started, and we got started at 3 o'clock. Both players to varying degrees would be of interest, I think, to any Bills fan. But, how realistic is it at all if the Bills were to, want to kick the tires? I would say this much, Sal. You definitely, and thank you, Sal's turning his camera around for the people watching on Twitch and on YouTube. Sorry, I meant the Twitch and YouTube, to show what he was describing as the fans are starting to filter into the stadium for this open practice. And, that's a good amount of people down there by the wall already. I'd want to call the Cowboys just because they're the Cowboys. Like, in the offseason when we weren't sure what was going to come with the James Cook contract situation, like, well, if trading him's an option, who I want to call? I want to call Dallas because they might overvalue a running back that only played 44% of the snaps. So get on the horn with Dallas. So if they are going to take calls on Micah Parsons, now that's a different thing than Parsons saying he wants to be traded. The team has to be willing to engage on that. I would want to call just to see, because you just never know what they might do, Dallas. I think their owner and GM might not be as super sharp as he used to be or anything. So I don't know. I'm calling Dallas, but neither of these guys are realistic targets, are they?
No, I don't think so. Look, the barrier for me has always been not the trading point, it's the price point of once you get them on your team. And, you have to pay them then. And the Bills don't have the kind of money to be able to pay these players what they are asking for. Now, in the case of Terry McLaurin, I think he's 30 already, right? I think Terry has already turned 30. I don't think the Bills have any interest in paying Terry McLaurin the kind of contract that he wants at the age of 30. Haven't they already kind of demonstrated this, the way they build their wide receiver room? He's a really good player.
I want to say I agree with that. I would not – he'd be the best receiver on the team, but at what price? $30 million a year for a 30-year-old receiver. They could be getting, Diggs about to hit the cliff again or something. I don't want any part of that myself, recognizing that in a short time frame it could be really good, but I think there'd be long-term maybe problems there with a big contract. Parsons, considering his age, Sal, he should be the highest paid defensive end or pass rusher or linebacker, whatever hybrid, he should be. He should get more than Watt and Garrett, or more than Hendrickson wants or whatever because of his age, simply. Not to mention the production.
It is a team you've already made a deal with this year, Kyrie Elam. He is in Dallas. You made a deal with him, right? So you already have a relationship there. Look, I do think that Would I think that Brandon Beane could make a phone call? Sure, I wouldn't doubt. Like, hey, what are you looking for? And then at the end of the day, he might, get an answer. He just like, yeah, I can't do that. But even if it was something that was okay, maybe we could do that. I don't know how he would manage paying him. I do think it's the kind of player they would pay, though, which is interesting, right? It was what I'm saying. Like, McLaurin is the kind of player they wouldn't pay at his age. I do think that's the kind of player they would pay at 26 years old at that position, given how they've been searching for that position and going and swinging big a little bit here with Von Miller and now Joey Bosa and some of the assets that they've used.
Yeah. Just for some frame of reference here, Khalil Mack was 27 when he was traded from the Raiders to the Bears, and the cost of that trade, that trade actually was this: 2 first-round picks, a third and a sixth, for Mack, a second, and a conditional fifth is what that trade broke down as. And, that's a lot of stuff, but I would do that. Where the Bills are on their timeline right now, picking at the end of the first round every year, I would have no problem paying the price. The question, of course, becomes if that's the price. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Dallas, if they engage in this at all, will be more unrealistic than that. I don't know. The question is, how do you pay him? I always feel like Sal, whether to be, I don't want to be flippant and say the salary cap doesn't matter, because you hear that sometimes. And I just think that's maybe a little bit lazy. But I feel like for the first year, like this year, you can usually find a way to finagle stuff and keep the cap hit down in year one. Like if he were to come here with a new monster contract, which of course you would, if you're giving up all that, you're paying him. He's at the top of the heap now of those type of players, right? So what is that? Over like $42 million a year or something, right? So you're going to pay him like annual average value, but year one, with the way you can allocate the bonuses and how long you make the contract and spread it out and all that, the year one cap hit can be more manageable. So I'm not here to tell you exactly like X, Y, 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 how you would do it. I feel like there's a way that can be done, but it's, still very cumbersome, and it'd be obviously a humongous commitment and a big change because, they've paid Rousseau, they've got Bosa here, and believe me, I know Parsons is a much better deal, much better player than either of those guys probably will ever be, but it's a huge, huge deal to pull off. I wonder if he will actually end up getting traded.
My guess is he won't. I think this is kind of what Jerry Jones does a little bit. He gets it to the point where everybody just starts stirring up a little bit and becomes a bit of drama. And then, we took care of the guy in the end. This is kind of what he does, how he operates. It's what he did with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, right? But, right now, Micah Parsons has made it clear, like, hey, he wants to be traded. So we'll see where it goes. My guess is they won't trade him, but you never know. I would say this, too. If he does, I've seen people say Micah Parsons would love to play with Dan Quinn. I could never imagine Jerry Jones trading him to Washington. Right? Come on. There's no way that's happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Dallas does have, look, it's all about leverage, right? One might ask, like, well, why is this different than the James Cook situation? They both have a year left on their contract, and, Cook decided to play ball and come in and work his way through this year, and we'll see if anything happens with the contract. I still don't think it will. I know last time we talked about it, that was your thought too. Parsons is it's a different position. It's a premium position that gets paid. But with all that said, Dallas he's on a 5th-year option this year. Next year, they could franchise him. They could franchise him again in 27 if they wanted to. It's the same sort of statements you could make about the Bills and Cook. Like, if the Bills really wanted to retain James Cook, they hold all the cards there. They'll have to pay for it, in the means of a franchise tag, which is very pricey for 1 year, not ideal at all, and the player doesn't usually like it. But that's the situation. The only leverage Parsons has is that he's at a marquee position, and maybe Dallas will feel some pressure to do something, but they don't, in reality, have to do anything.
That's right. And they can decide to pull that lever at the end of the season, going in next season. But I guess in the meantime, you play with fire a little bit with your best player and what his feelings are about everything. Now, Terry McLaurin feels a little bit more entrenched because this has been going on for a little while, right? Feels like it's a little bit more to a kind of a crisis point of what Micah Parsons is. Maybe, I know Micah Parsons, this goes back a ways as well, but it feels like Terry McLaurin, that kind of relationship feels like it's a little bit more fractured than what it is with Parsons and Dallas. I don't know, and that's just my interpretation of it. But when he showed up and then he didn't practice, went on a list or whatever, and now he wants traded. It just feels like there's not a good relationship there right now.
Yeah, the Dallas thing, for folks who don't know the details, because Parsons posted a lengthy explanation on, I think originally Instagram, and it has shown up now on Twitter/X. According to Parsons, and this I think has already been reported to some extent, but he lays it out there plainly. This is him, presumably maybe with the help of advisors or agents or whatever, but he says at the end of the season before last, so the end of the 23 season, he told his agent to engage. I'd like to sign, get an extension done. And this is before the Myles Garrett extension and before the TJ Watt. So a bargain could have been had there probably, right? But Dallas didn't want to do anything, and Parsons' reaction to that, as he writes, is, well, okay, I'll play the 24 season. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to go do my work, right? And so he does that. The 24 season comes and goes, and he eventually comes around to having a conversation with Jerry Jones that, according to Parsons, started out about leadership and segued into talking about contract. Now, this is just the player and the owner having this conversation. And the way Parsons tells it is that when he then went to his agent and said, look, I've had this talk with Jerry, we should engage. You should call them, and we'll get the ball rolling on this. That the Cowboys went dark. They thought that whatever conversations they had, without the agent present at all, involved in any part of it, that Jones thought, oh, we've got the framework for a deal here, which I just think is. It's so bizarre, it's offensive. How in the world are you in the NFL business and think that you are going to make a deal with this guy, right, a premier player at a premier position, without his agent, and suddenly that's supposed to be binding? I just think that is ridiculous.
It's Jerry Jones not understanding maybe the way things work now compared to the way they used to work back in the day. And I think I've actually come around a lot more on Jerry Jones over the years on what he's all about. I think Jerry I had a sense, and I always thought Jerry was simply, about the Cowboys, doesn't matter, go screw you, as long as we make money. And actually, I think he's the opposite now. Jerry has kind of proven to be all about the NFL and the NFL making money. And I think it's hurt his own team in a lot of ways because he's been so good at trying to help out. And even here in Buffalo, he's been a very big proponent. He's actually he's the one that I think I don't even know if they own Legends anymore, but that's his company and the food service and all that. But he was always a big proponent of getting a new stadium here in Buffalo, and kind of harkens back to the old AFL days and NFL days where the small markets matter. And Jerry's kind of been on that train a little bit. But one of the criticisms of Jerry Jones, believe it or not, over the last few years and several years is he kind of doesn't take care of his own team and his own players anymore because he's too fixated on that. And he's become more of a guy for the league instead of his own team, which is totally bizarre.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Well, a lot of that. Yeah, he definitely has been someone. I know he played a role in getting this thing across the finish line here for the Bills. So hats off for that. But man, he's botching his team. I think
he is
pretty badly. Because even if you get things settled, right? Prescott and Lamb have even talked this week or recently about it's just always kind of like this. And sure, that's what the money's for, right? It should make it all go away, but no one likes to be mistreated and disrespected, and I just don't understand why he is treating some of his players this way.
I think it is, to me, my interpretation is, going back to what I just said, I think Jerry takes the philosophy of, we're the Dallas Cowboys, we have the star in our helmet. But Jerry, this isn't 1989 anymore, right, when you bought the team. And I think he believes that hey, we're going to get every star player to want to play here, and when they are here, they're always going to resign here because we're the Dallas Cowboys. That's not how it works. And, oh, by the way, they have not won in a long time. Right? It doesn't mean anything to a lot of guys, the Dallas Cowboys, the star. This isn't thinking back to Roger Staubach of 1970s and Tony Dorsett of 1970s or even Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith in 1990s. I mean, Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb weren't alive when those guys won.
We've got some folks on hold. One that wants to talk about the stadium, one that wants to talk about these trade ideas. We'll get to you folks, so stay there when we continue here. Sal Capaccio is live at Highmark Stadium. I am the Bulldog, live in our Amherst studios. We'll continue after this on WGR.
Coming up in just under an hour, the return of the red and blue practice for the Buffalo Bills over at Highmark Stadium. Again, that's going to get going at 5:30. One injury note from yesterday. May have missed it. The Bills have activated Spencer Brown off of the PUP list. We'll get more on tonight's practice as we do get ready, or as we get closer to the start of that. And a reminder, the coverage of Bills training camp is brought to you by Figo Car and Joyce Shore Border Attorneys. By Outlet Liquor, when you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys, and driven by your Upstate Honda dealers. For great deals on the entire Honda lineup, visit your Upstate Honda dealer today. Another player has requested a trade as tempers begin to flare in contract negotiations. Cowboys pass rusher Micah Parsons did so in a Twitter post earlier this afternoon, saying he no longer wants to be in Dallas, and has also discussed how the Cowboys front office has attempted to negotiate with Parsons without his agent being involved. And then in baseball, the Buffalo Bisons hosting Syracuse just after 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Cruising along here on a Friday afternoon. Mike Schopp is on vacation. We'll be away all of next week as well. I am the Bulldog. Sal Capaccio is live at Highmark Stadium for this evening's return of the blue and red practice. Is it practice, scrimmage? What is it actually called, Sal? It's not called a scrimmage, is it?
It is not, and I know people call it that, and that's fine. I'm kind of I'm a little bit, I don't know, I guess a little bit too strict on that myself.
Yep.
Because when I think of scrimmage, I'm like, you're coming to a place to watch like an offense and a defense or two teams battle each other, and there's scoreboard keeping. That's a scrimmage to me. Right? Like that's not. Now, they might have a scrimmage period here, but it is really an open practice. And when you brought up like earlier, going back to the days of the Sabres open practices, right? Those were great because they do some scrimmaging. They do a little bit of, against each other. That's not what a scrimmage is. That's not what this is. This is an open practice. Will they go offense and defense live? Yes. They're not going to take each other down to the ground. But it'll be more upthought. It'll be, to me, the best way to describe it is they're going to have a practice like they do at St. John Fisher, but they're going to do it here. They just might have a little bit more of the live stuff, offense against defense, than they normally do.
Yeah. So it is the final year of the stadium, and this is the first event of the final year at the stadium. Say what you will. There's a preseason game next Saturday, but this is the first time in the stadium for the season for a lot of people. And it could be, as I said at the very outset of our show today, Sal, it might be the last time in the stadium for some people that are going, whether it's just maybe they're from out of town and they're here, in the summer visiting and they can't make it to home games or can't afford it, whatever. So I was thinking a lot about the stadium today as we got going, and I know we already talked about and debated a little bit about the best games and the very top of the list and some memorable moments. What I wanted to ask you here, if you're okay with it, like now you said this is season 12 now on the sidelines for you?
Yes, it'll be season 12. Right. Yeah,
so
incredibly.
What are what do you have like in your for your own self, like what the moments are for you? Because your perspective, I know when we talk during the week, once the season starts, there will be times where there are plays that happen, and I'll want to know where you were for it, right? Because like, what was your perspective on, say, the Amari Cooper lateral to Josh Allen last year? I think was one that I talked about. But like for you, what are the top of the heap moments that you've been on the sidelines for?
So there are a few that come to mind right away, and I would tell you that when you think of where I would be for a lot of these, I'm on the Bills sideline, obviously, or I could be in the end zone. Sometimes I'm there, but generally for a play like that, like you just described, Josh Allen, the lateral, that's in the far end of the end zone. That's the far side. That's the Niners sideline. That's the visitor sideline. So I don't have as good a perspective. A lot of times the things that happen are when I have the perspective of it being kind of right in front of me, right? And that brings into what happened the very first year I was on the sidelines, and a couple iconic pictures of me looking right at Sammy Watkins' feet as he was toe tapping 2 feet in front of me for a touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
Yeah, to win it, right? That was pretty cool. And you could see me looking right at his feet in that moment. And of course, that's when the Bills were in a playoff drought and they weren't as good as they are now. And since then, there's been a lot of great moments with the Bills when they've been really good and, some of the things that have mattered. And I think one of the first ones that comes to mind, believe it or not, is something that I was not on the field for. And that is Taron Johnson's pick six.
I
was in the stands,
right?
Because we could not be on the field as part of the COVID protocols. There were 6,500 people in the stands, Bulldog.
Something
like that, right?
Yep.
And I was one of them, and a lot of us in the media, we had to be in the stands in a certain area. But I could roam the stands, but I had to be up in them, and they called it the moat. So I am right near the goal line, but I'm about maybe 10 rows up in the stands watching. He catches that ball, and as he's running out, I'm kind of trailing, and I start running down the aisle, right? Because there's nobody there, because I have this kind of thing to myself. And I've always said this, that you always hear people say about things going in slow motion. You're like, yeah, whatever. It's just kind of a saying.
Uh-huh.
And I will tell you, for the first time in my life, and still only time maybe I remember to think about, it was like things happening in slow motion in my life. I was watching him run while I was watching the stands and the fans and people go crazy up and down. And it was unbelievable, the picturesque scene of that from my spot where I was.
Yeah, that is that almost, listen, it's still, disappointing, sad, whatever, that more people weren't in the stadium for such an incredible moment in such an important game, right? This is the first year of the Bills really arriving as a bona fide contender, right? They'd lost the wild card game the season before in Houston, and so it's just becoming real, right? But I feel like for those who were there and like for you, that it's so different makes it stand out more, probably. Makes it more pronounced. I mean, you're one of the few that were there for it. That's one thing. But this scene you're describing would have never happened in a regular game, right?
No, that's right. That's right. Now, there's been other things that have happened. For example, the fight that happened between Leonard Fournette and Shaq Lawson, I literally got knocked into the wall, during the fight. And I hit the wall. I'm like, oh, my God, get out of here, right? Things like that happen. Right. One of the crazier, funnier things that ever happened was during the Miami Dolphins game here a few years ago at night. Remember the Saturday night game with the snow and people throwing the snowballs on the field, right? And referee Bill Vinovich wanted the fans to stop. He sees me with a microphone. He thinks I'm the PA announcer for the stadium. So he walks up to me and says, "Can you announce to these people to stop throwing snow?" And I said, "Sir, I'm not the announcer for the stadium. I'm on the radio right now." Right. And he's looking at me and he's looking at my mic like, "What are you talking about? You can't talk to these people. You have a microphone in your hand." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I have a couple great pictures that are still in my phone that I bring up every once in a while to show people of me explaining this to Bill Vinovich, and he has this super confused look on his face.
How in the world have I never... You haven't told me that story before, have you?
I don't think so. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Okay,
I hope not, because yes. I forgot it if you did, and that's a great story. I can't believe I would have forgotten that story.
It is amazing. It is one of the most amazing things that ever happened to me, in my life. I'm like, this NFL referee in this huge game on Saturday Night Football is telling me to please announce to the crowd to stop throwing snowballs. I'm like, "Sir, I can't do that. I have a microphone in my hand. I'm talking to the radio crowd."
He wants you to go Sam. He wants you to go Sam Weiss.
Yes,
from
that's
Cleveland.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly right. So anyway, then the other thing is last year, final game here against the Baltimore Ravens, Mark Andrews drops the pass. Now, when he had it in his hands, I thought, oh, he's got this. For that split second, you thought he's got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He drops the pass. I am the closest human on the planet to him when he drops the pass. Maybe there's a defender right behind him. I picked up the ball and handed it to the official.
Oh, wow.
I picked up that ball, Bulldog.
Wow.
Wait, I picked up that ball.
Yeah.
It's in my hand, and I'm thinking, holy cow, the Bills just won this game as I'm holding the ball and handing it to the official.
That is something. Did you have any? I know, you're a pro. You're on the sidelines. There's no cheering, right? Did you have to make sure to? Was it just instinct to pick the ball up, or did you have to contain your level of like? Was there a fist pump, even a subtle one, anything at all?
there's always that in some regard. There's always a frustration or a fist pump or something you're doing inside because you're part of the action. You're part of the moment. And anything that happens, right? When it's like there's a big play and it goes for the Bills, a big play against the Bills, you always have this emotion in some way that you always have to contain. You can't show that. You're going to get in trouble. That's not what you're there for. You're there to do the job. But, I mean, I'm part of it. I'm the adrenaline's pumping. Now, in that moment, that very brief moment of do I pick up the ball always happens because I've picked up footballs before. Heck, Bulldog, another one is I literally caught a kickoff from Tyler Bass at the Rams, the opener, because he kicked it out of bounds, and it came to me, and I caught it. Like, I caught it on the sidelines, right? Like, sometimes the ball just comes to you. You got to pick it up, or you got to do whatever. So, in that moment, the ball's sitting at my feet, and for a brief moment, I'm like, do I touch it? And I'm like, yeah, of course, right? It's standing there, and I'm just going to hand it like I would normally. And that's when I picked it up and scooped it up. But it does also get me to not, like, show emotion because I'm kind of just making sure I do that instead of anything else. I do think if you watch the game broadcast, and I don't think I realized I did it, I do think I gave a no good sign, like incomplete sign, very briefly when it happened.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I think that's just kind of natural. A lot of people do that. You're on the sidelines. You see people like, oh, it's good or it's no good because we all do that at home a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right. I wonder if Mark Andrews saw you out of the corner of his eye. Just like,
I don't know.
Who's this guy with the headset on? I don't need you in this moment right now, buddy. Where does I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about moments? Again, there's a lot of different ways to frame this conversation about the stadium and these these games. You're talking about moments, and like moments are different than best games ever, which we covered earlier. I mentioned the Naheem Hines touchdown, the kickoff return, the opening kickoff, and then he did it again to open the second half, which was also incredible, but not as incredible as the opening kickoff of that game. First time back on the field after Damar Hamlin. That is a scene that I still get emotional thinking about.
Yeah, and when things like that happen, now you're in the moment of it's not the play itself, it's the reaction. And a lot of my job on the sidelines is to get that reaction. I'm watching players, I'm watching coaches, I'm watching interactions with people. And when I turned and saw the emotion there, then the emotion starts pouring out in everybody, right? You see everybody. It kind of becomes contagious in that moment. And then you look at the fans and you see it. And, boy, it was amazing. I will tell you, as much as we talked to circle back to the very first thing you asked about the best moments, and I said I was in this stadium for 51-3. It was a party. The night of the perfect game, to be in this stadium and watch so many fans be so fulfilled, I get choked up thinking about it. To watch so many fans behind me, in front of me, beside me, have that moment, it still resonates with me forever.
Yeah, that is good. The morning after that game, I went with Jeremy White from our morning show out to the camper lot to help him pack up because he and his wife Mal, they have a camper, and so they're a part of that scene out there in the camper lot tailgating. And I went with him that it was a Sunday morning because that game was Saturday night, right? So the Sunday morning to go help him pack up the camper and get it out of there. And like all around, it's a parking lot where there had been, massive parties going on before, and I'm sure probably after the way that game went, right? I still have the photo somewhere. I'm sure. I know I didn't delete it. My phone might have lost it somehow because whatever, things get fishy with my phone sometimes. But I think everyone has this problem to some extent. There was a discarded like a Patriots coffee mug lying in a puddle. Right around Jeremy's, right around the trailer, right around the camper site. Yeah. And it was a bright sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. This Sunday morning, we went out there to do this, and the shadows and it was such a. I'm like, this is perfect. Look at this thing. That was that. I know, yeah. That game was quite a ride.
It's just it was kind of just appropriate, right, for the moment to see something like that.
All right, Sal, we know you got to get down to the field, so we'll let you go here, wrap up this segment, and thanks a lot for jumping in here. And I know we'll talk into next week as well. But enjoy this tonight. Have a great weekend, and thanks for sitting with me for a couple of hours.
You got it. Thanks a lot.
That is our dude, Sal Capaccio. I will go ahead and fit in all of the training camp sponsors, even though this is an actual training camp at St. John Fisher University. But still, our coverage is brought to you by Fiegel Carr and Joyce, your border attorneys. By Outlet Liquor, we need to stock up. It's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. And driven by your Upstate Honda dealers. For great deals on the entire Honda lineup, visit your Upstate Honda dealer today. We will take a time out. Be back for more Aaron Quinn, Cover 1 on the Bills, coming up at the top of the hour. I'm the Bulldog, and you're listening to WGR. All right, man. Glad to have you hanging with us here on a Friday afternoon. Right now, it is giveaway time. Right now, caller 5 at 716-221-4WGR. That's 4947. So 221-4947 is going to win a pair of... I'm just waiting to see if people call before they even know what they're winning. Sorry, I don't mean to be a jerk. Yeah, no, these are the grandstand tickets for the NASCAR Cup Series weekend from Friday, August 8th through Sunday, August 10th at Watkins Glen International. Again, this is a pair of grandstand tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series weekend. The Go Bowling at the Glen brings the drivers of the NASCAR Cup Series to ballot. It's not that hard to battle it out around the historic New York road course. Tickets are on sale for the entire NASCAR weekend at theglen.com. Again, that's theglen.com. But 221-4947, caller 5 gets the pair of grandstand tickets to the NASCAR Cup Series weekend. Good luck. That's coming right up. That's next weekend. Here we're there, man. It's August 1st today. What? Goes so fast. All right. Anyway, good luck with that. We'll hit up a timeout here, and when we return, our buddy Aaron Quinn. It's been a while, probably since almost this time last year, I might guess. I don't know. Aaron Quinn from Cover One will join me. Go over the Bills. We'll talk about the stadium with him too. Probably Micah Parsons and Terry McLaurin while we're at it. I mean, why not do everything? So that's right after this. Mike is away today, and we'll be off all next week as well. But I'll be here. I'll have Sal with me for one of those days. Nate Geary will be in as well. So we'll keep it rolling along here while Mike is enjoying some vacation. Anyway, Aaron Quinn up next. I'm the Bulldog. This is WGR.
The return of the red and blue practice over at Highmark Stadium will get underway in just about a half hour. One injury note from late yesterday. The Bills have activated tackle Spencer Brown off the PUP list. We'll hope to get more on practice as we get closer to the start. But a reminder, the coverage of Bills training camp is brought to you by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys, by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys, and driven by your Upstate Honda dealers for great deals on the entire Honda lineup. Visit your Upstate Honda dealer today. Big news out of the NFL. Another player has demanded a trade as contract negotiations are causing tempers to flare. Cowboys pass rusher Micah Parsons did so earlier this afternoon in a post on Twitter, saying he no longer wants to be in Dallas, and he also discussed how the Cowboys front office has attempted to negotiate without Parsons' agent being involved. And then in baseball, the Buffalo Bisons hosting Syracuse just after 6:30 tonight, and that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I got a speeding ticket in the mail yesterday.
In the mail?
Yeah. I think I'm going to just ignore it.
It's Mike Schopp
Where was this?
Spain.
and the Bulldog.
I think if I just lay low, I think I'll get away with it.
Not mention it on the air?
Definitely don't want to talk about it on the air.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog
I like the sound of this more and more as we go. I'm an outlaw.
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
I'm just saying the authorities have still not shown up at my door. It's been more than a year. I think I'm skating. Glad to have you with us here on WGR this afternoon. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp is away today and will be off next week as well. I'll be here with, just myself on Monday, then Nate Geary for a few days, and then Sal next Friday. Sal was with me for the front end of this show, but he is now taking part in a sort of practice broadcast while the Bills are enjoying the return of the blue and red practice on the West Her Hotline. Now, though, to talk all things Bills and maybe who knows what else, maybe even some golf, is our buddy Aaron Quinn from Cover One. Aaron, it's been probably a year or more, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while since we chatted. I'm busy with the kids often when you're asking me to come on this hour, but I'm free tonight, and so I was excited when I got the invite. So I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
Good deal, man. How are things? How's the golf game?
It's okay. I have not, again, gotten out as much with the kids on school break as I would like to. And so when I get back out, it's a little wonky and rusty. But I'm hoping with Nate Geary filling in this week that you guys will get to go out before the show that afternoon. Maybe get a little powwow, pre-production meeting.
Nate, he's so busy with his real job and playing Pinehurst.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have time to go play at Delaware Park with little old me.
I see him on Instagram all the time. I get it.
Right. So, where do we start here? I think the stadium, because it'll get away from us if we start talking about everything else. And, it struck me this morning, say what you will, it's just an open practice, but it is like it's the first event that fans can go to in the final season of the stadium. So stadium memories are sort of, spilling over here. I really enjoyed Sal last about a half an hour ago talking about all the different things he's been a part of from his perspective on the sidelines. The last 11 seasons. How about you? Like, what things stand out, whether you were in the stadium for them or just watching on TV like, many people?
Yeah, well, like many people that listen to our podcast know, I'm not from the Western New York area originally, became a Bills fan from out of state. And so, like, my real first exposure to Buffalo was driving 10, 11 hours from Maine to come catch Bills-Patriots games and bringing my friends along with me who were Patriots fans and terrible friends along with me for some of those rides. And just that experience of being, the Bills fan in my group and bringing friends, that will always stick with me. And then now I am in the region and my family's from here and we had season tickets for years. So there's, my heartstrings pull at that stadium. And I'll tell you, without like the analyst perspective, just as a parent, all the parents that I talked to and all the play dates that have been on all summer, everyone's wanting to get their kids, even if it's to the kids game or to this blue and red scrimmage, just that one last time, make sure you bring the family. So it's a rite of passage in Western New York, and you can't, I don't know. Everyone can be excited for the new stadium, but you got to this one pulls at your heartstrings knowing it's the last one in this stadium.
Yeah, I hear you, man. We haven't been out there with our show on game days since COVID.
Right.
The opportunity to do it has been there. We just haven't taken it, so it's not like they're keeping us from doing it. I think, but nonetheless, I found out we're going to be doing, I don't know that this is all set up yet, so I don't want to let any cats out of bags, but there's a chance we're doing some shows for like the weekday, like the Thursday Dolphins game, say. Our show will be the pregame show, and there's a chance that we're going to be there, and I already am making sure I find my way to tickets, because when I started thinking about it, my oldest son, Owen, now works here. He's a sports fanatic. Leo couldn't care less, but the two of them and my wife and a friend of ours went to like the Jets finale. I don't know, CJ Spiller might have had a big play in the game. Like, it's that long ago. They're really little kids. And Owen has been to games as an adult now with friends and stuff. But the two of us, we saw E.J. Manuel's preseason debut against Pittsburgh in 2013 together. But we have never been to a game. And furthermore, I haven't been to a game as a fan. I don't think I'm forgetting anything since the 2000 opener against Tennessee. Yeah. So I got to go to that Miami game, right? Like with Owen. I mean, we got to make this happen, I think. So
and it sounds like the conversation, like I said, I've had with every parent, whether they've been to a ton of games, or in your case too, like where like, hey, we haven't had an opportunity to. That's it now. The clock is running out, and it's really cool that it's paired with the excitement of what this team could be. Like, what better way to go out with a really fun winning season with some home playoff games at the Ralph to send it out.
Yeah, no question about that at all. Okay, so the team right now, how badly would you like to see a Terry McLaurin or Micah Parsons trade, Aaron?
Oh, man, I try not to be this guy, right? Every time you hear the big name and it's like, oh, let's go get him. But from this perspective, I will say Terry McLaurin has been one of my favorite players since I saw his Senior Bowl stuff. I've just loved him and loved everything he brings and think he fits exactly what the Bills want in guys. That one's a little frivolous, I will say, but the heart wants what the heart wants. But when you see Micah Parsons, that rings a little different because you're dealing with like a 26-year-old who's underpaid under his current contract. I don't know how the Cowboys let this get as bad as it is, where he's releasing public statements that his agent isn't involved. So this seems like bad, where there might be some bad blood. Where at least in Terry McLaurin's case, he's gotten back. He has requested a trade, but he came back. It doesn't seem to be as ill intent on one or not. But the Parsons one seems really interesting, man. You're looking at edge rusher, which is a premium position. That's where the Bills really try to address this offseason. Knowing what I know about Brandon Beane, he's at least had to send a lowball offer. Like, he's that kind of guy where he's going to try to get he's not going to not get involved in something like this. So that's the one that intrigues me the most, is the Bills need to get pressure on the quarterback. He can do that now.
I think you have to, if it's the Dallas Cowboys, I think you always have to make a call, because to me, you just never know. When we were in a phase of real uncertainty about how the James Cook thing was going to go, we would often say in here, like, well, if you're going to find out what the trade market is, call Dallas. You just got to call Dallas. You never know. They might give you a first-round pick for a running back who had 16 touchdowns last year. Who knows? So
yeah, and from that perspective, like, again, I'm not the guy that likes to get all frivolous on these kinds of deals, but it's kind of embarrassed to probably say what I'd be willing to give up for a guy like Micah Parsons to just put him on your team this year for what I think is a Super Bowl caliber team. Kind of, I don't know. I feel like Brandon Beane's got to be intrigued. If he's not, I'd be disappointed. Right.
Aaron Quinn from Cover One on the Western Hotline with me here on WGR. So, well, since we started on this, let's stay on pass rush here. And Bosa comes in. They keep Rousseau. I see from following your stuff, the Cover One accounts and your own account, you're quite bullish on Rousseau, maybe being capable of taking another step. But Bosa's really the big. That's the big piece. And I did a FanDuel show this afternoon before my show, and was asked about him as a Von Miller, replacement. And I mean that's really what he is. And I just sure hope it works. It's only 1 year, so it's not the big financial commitment Miller was, of course. But boy, there's a lot, I think, riding on him staying healthy, because if he doesn't produce, their pass rush, I guess Hoyt is here too. And we'll see about Javon Solomon, but I don't know. I think it gets pretty thin pretty quick if Bosa isn't healthy.
It gets thin quick, and some of that's due to the suspension for 6 weeks with Michael Hoyt being in there. He would also kind of offset some of those snaps if he was there for the first 6 weeks. Greg Thompson, my co-host, always jokes around how he kind of wished maybe Bosa was the one suspended, where you could just ice him for 6 weeks. Just from that, everyone has this kind of overlying anxiety when it comes to Bosa of the potential of the injury, right? Whether you believe in injury prone or not, I'm still not sold that it's a thing, but it does happen where guys just kind of linger with 3-4 injuries that hold them out for years. So I think that's the concern, is Hoyt being out, him maybe having to take a higher snap count than the Bills initially wanted. So I am keeping an eye on guys like tonight's practice. I want to hear about Javon Solomon. I want to hear about some of that rotation, especially early in the season. Not to say that Bills are always playing for January or whatever, but kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to sound cocky like Patriots fans used to be, but you are kind of playing for later in the season. So we heard Sean McDermott say they have a plan for Bosa and a rep count. We saw that with Vaughn last year, but I don't think he can play the limited snaps Vaughn did with how tight that depth chart gets with Hoyt being out.
Yeah. One player who I've been intrigued about all spring was the third-round pick out of Arkansas, Landon Jackson. I like his athletic profile a lot, but it seems to me, I don't know, you can tell me if you've seen different yourself. I know you've been out to practice with the kids, but most of what I'm gleaning is like he's down the depth chart, and I guess I'm rooting for that to change maybe once the preseason games even begin. But I wonder, I was talking with Sal yesterday on the show that right now I might guess that he's a guy that on game day doesn't get a uniform.
Right now probably would be tough, but I think one thing that I'm trying to kind of watch myself is with some of these camp battles and positioning, it's still kind of early, even though it feels like the season's right around the corner in terms of like the roster and being able to shift and move, especially at some of these lower end of the depth chart spots can really shake out. And we've seen, like in the cornerback room, how one injury over the next week, knock on wood, and we hope it doesn't, thrusts a younger guy into a position where they are getting more snaps and more looks. And so they'll end at St. John Fisher here soon and be back home from training camps. But then there's still weeks where they're still practicing before a game. We still have about a month before football. So a lot of these spots, guys are still going to have opportunities to move up. And I feel like Jackson's the kind of player that is going to move his way up and get himself into that rotation here before home opener is what I'm hoping, but at least early in the season.
Yeah. How about on the back end? I know, again, following you through the season, I don't want to overdo this, that you're like a Damar Hamlin defender or anything, but I feel like you stick up for him amongst the fan base. Cole Bishop had a quad injury that caused him to miss practice yesterday, missed a lot of last summer with injury. I feel like a lot is riding on Bishop because, like, I hear you on Hamlin. Like, he did a credible job, but I think, you want to get back to more than just getting by at that position, right? We were used to the luxury of Hyde and Poyer. I mean, holy cow, that's a high bar to clear, I recognize, but I think I want some plays from back there, and I feel like Bishop might be a package that can offer me that, and I feel like a lot, I don't want to say a lot, no, I do. I think a lot rides on his being healthy and being impactful back there.
Yeah, really, he and Rapp. Rapp has also found his way to put himself off the field at times. And so you do need help out of that. So my defense of Damar Hamlin has been adequate. I think it's been adequate safety play for this scheme. I think he's a good fit. It's a nice floor, and that's an important part of an NFL roster. And we talked about it on our show this weekend. It's a pretty rare state of occurrence where a pretty young defensive back makes his way back to your team in free agency. He didn't get big starting money. So you get him back, and it's a good floor. I think everybody in the organization sees Cole Bishop as a starting caliber player. That's why they drafted him. They're giving him every chance to hold on to that job. It's going to be availability. Can he stay available to keep that job and take it? Because DeMar Hamlin's a frustrating enough player that you have a good floor, but he also is a guy that coaches trust. Like, he is going to be where he's supposed to be, and maybe he doesn't make the splash plays we all want to see, but that coach trust matters, and so Cole's got to get out there here, be healthy, so they can prove to the coaches when bullets fly here through the preseason that he and Rapp are good to go, and they can trust in that, because I do think your more high-end plays and the higher ceiling comes from a Bishop Rapp safety do. I don't think anybody would argue against that, and that's why the Bills picked him.
Has Rapp kind of grown on you? I shouldn't posit it that way. Like, I was, when he first started playing here, I felt like he was a personal foul penalty waiting to happen a lot. Like, he just had this reputation for being that guy, and I think early in his Bills career, there were a couple, and I think that has kind of gotten under control. I wonder if that's coaching or he just has learned himself, whatever, but I feel like I want to count on him now.
Yes. Well, I'll frame it in the idea of like video games almost. Like in some of the college football game stuff, you can upgrade your coaches to certain things and your players develop and are better there. The Bills have that with defensive backs, right? So they're going to naturally get a little more out of people than you almost always expect. That's been my experience in covering the Bills and going back to guys like Leonard Johnson in the slot. Like, the Bills got really playable football out of a guy like that late in his career. Sean McDermott just knows what he's doing with defensive backs. And so I think you almost give them all a little bit of a curve. And I was with you on Rapp. I was intrigued. Didn't really know that he was ready to be a starter. I thought he was kind of one of those hybrid players no one knows really what to do with. Mm-hmm. Is he really a full-time starter? I'll tell you, last year when he's healthy, really impressed me. I got really on the Rapp train. He's a smart player. He knows where to be. I don't think he's to the Poyer Hyde level, but he's almost like a poor man's Poyer in the way that he plays. And I think what made Poyer and Hyde great was Poyer and Hyde. Like, right. They were both really good players, but the way they played off each other and just read everything, and it was a one symbiotic unit. Rapp hasn't had that. Like we said, DeMar's fine. He's an adequate player, but he's not matching the caliber that Rapp had. And I think Bishop gives you that opportunity, and the Bills can get back to doing some of the stuff they'd like to do with that safety position to confuse quarterbacks.
Aaron Quinn from Cover One, our guest here on the Western Hotline for a few more minutes on WGR. So, swinging over the other side of the ball, I already referred to the James Cook situation that turned into really very much a nothing burger. He showed up for minicamp. I like my money. We didn't know, okay, some drama, training camp's coming. Will he show up but hold in, not participate, whatever? It seems like it's all just gone away, and I don't know. I'm sort of expecting that to be the case for the whole year. I think he plays out his deal and probably hits free agency next year.
Yeah, I think everybody knows and no one's budging. And honestly, we kind of joked about it on our show. Like, thank God it's being handled like this with Hard Knocks in place. Like, that was the last thing I wanted, was for Hard Knocks to come into town and then like the first 3 episodes be like, oh, there's this drama and tension. Everybody's handled it in a way where no one's talking about it anymore. Now you have real drama and tension in other franchises, and you see what it's like. Like, that's not good attention for the Dallas Cowboys. That's not great attention right now for the Commanders, who the fan base should be excited about. The Bills aren't dealing with that. Everyone kind of knows Cook's going to play this out. I think from everything I've seen, an offer was made. I'm sure that offer will sit on the table as long as Cook wants to let it marinate, and Bean's not going any higher than that offer. It's just a matter, I'm sure you guys have talked about it countless times on this show, and the value of running back and where do you get that ROI? And I think you see all these also highlights from Ray Davis coming out of camp and the way he's able to run. So I think it makes it hard for the Bills to really want to give up assets there. If you go get a Micah Parsons here in these next 2 weeks, I'll tell you what, you're going to regret paying James Cook any more than you offered him.
Right, no doubt. Yeah, that's where you might pull that offer back. If you were to do that, like, sorry, store's closed. no more.
Yeah, you might have to put him in on the offer, right? Like,
who knows? Right. Yeah,
we're changing things up.
Yeah, right. I talked yesterday a lot about the pass catchers. I know, go figure, right? WGR talking about receivers. But Shakir, I feel like I'm banking on at least what he did last year. Maybe there's even room for more. Great. Yeah. I love him. I've been bullish on him since he got here, and I feel like I'm getting paid off. So that's good. The rest of the pass catchers, if you had to pick one other pass catcher, all right, let's just put our everybody eats hats on the shelf for now. All right. Mm-hmm. Is there another pass catcher here? This, Kincaid and Knox should be included. You could include the running backs, but I can't imagine a running back reaching the threshold I'm about to lay on you here. And then the receiving core, is there someone there that you would bet on ascending to, say, 60 receptions and 6 to 10 touchdowns?
Man, I think it's going to be tough just because of the way that room's spread out. And Josh Allen likes to spread the ball around. I think somebody would really have to rise up. He seems to really love throwing the ball to Keon Coleman. And Keon hasn't necessarily made the strides that I want to see from the things I've seen. I think he's fine, but the separation doesn't seem to be that much better. You always hear about he's in defense. He's still making the catches we sort of expect out of him, where it's, he's in tight coverage. There was one that the Bills sent out the other day, beautiful catch in tight coverage. So he has that opportunity. Obviously, he's got to stay healthy. I know people like to bring up his on-pace stats were kind of trending towards some of that type of statistical line last year. So maybe, he stays on that pace. We'll see. I think Josh Palmer is going to eat into a little bit of what the expectation and the bump for Keon Coleman maybe look like. I think they have a big plan for Joshua Palmer in this offense. I think he answers a lot of the type of receiver they didn't have a year ago and wanted. I think they're going to try to add that more as the wrinkle that Brady keeps talking about. So I think that will probably fight against Keon a little bit, but it looks like he's in that starting 3 wide receiver group, and nobody's really, we talk a lot about Elijah Moore. Obviously, Curtis Samuel still just can't seem to keep himself healthy. So no one's really making a push to get into those reps besides those guys. Yeah,
my bet would be Coleman. I'm a little worried about Kincaid. It was only one day and he was back the next day, but I don't know. I think we could be looking at a situation where he plays through stuff and just is not the guy that we thought we were getting. I don't know. I'm a little nervous.
Knock on wood. I'd love you to knock on some wood right now because they need it. It's either got to be Coleman or Kincaid. At least one of them has to. Yeah. And I hate say, they got to live up to where they were drafted, but these two do. One of them has to, because you did spend an asset. And, I'm on WGR. You guys have been adamant about getting Josh pass catching assets in those early rounds. They did it. Now those guys have to sort of pan out for you, at least one of them.
Right. All right. So what else is to come for Cover One here? You want to promote anything while you've got the airtime here?
Yeah, man. I mean, as always, just wherever you get your podcasts, videos, however you like to follow the Bills, just search Cover One. You'll find us. Really proud of the team that we've assembled, doing great work. Eric and Sal have a new show, Turf to Tape.
Yep, I saw.
That's been super enjoyable. So we're just kind of busting, getting ready for the season. Greg and I are on every Wednesday night, lining up our guests here for the year. And then after every postgame show, we go live as well. So make sure you're following, subscribed. Everybody knows what to do.
All right, man. Well, I'm a big fan of the work. Really, a lot of the in-depth stuff you do is just not stuff that's practical for us to get into here, but I think it's really helpful to the fan base. So kudos, man. Good work, and keep it up.
Appreciate the kind words, man. Appreciate you guys giving us time.
That is Aaron Quinn from Cover One. Thanks again, Aaron. We'll talk again soon, and hopefully do some golfing once the kids get back to school. That's a wrap on that. He already hung up because I dismissed him already. So, the golf invite ends up sounding hollow. What are you going to do? 803-0550 is the phone number. You want to get in on anything? Aaron and I were kicking around. Sal and I spent a good part of today talking about the stadium. If you got anything on the stadium, memories looking back, your favorite moments, whatever, this is a conversation that I think will, perk up from time to time through certainly the rest of August before the season starts, and then probably, depending on how the season goes, at other times during the season too. I mean, it's a big deal. 1973 to 2025. Here goes the stadium, and a new place going up across the street. So we're going to want to spend some time on it, and I'm willing to do that now with you if you are out there and want to get in on it. 803-0550 is the number. Mike is away. I am the Bulldog along with Zach Jones. You are listening to WGR.
This over at Highmark Stadium is underway for the Buffalo Bills. For live coverage of practice, do go over to Sal Capaccio's Twitter at Sal Sports. He'll have you covered throughout the evening. And a reminder that coverage of Bills training camp is brought to you by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorneys. By Outlet Liquor, when you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? By Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. And driven by your Upstate Honda dealers for great deals on the entire Honda lineup. Visit your Upstate Honda dealer today. Big news in the NFL today was Cowboys pass rusher Micah Parsons requesting a trade in a Twitter post earlier this afternoon. Parsons went on to say he no longer wants to be in Dallas and also discussed how the Cowboys front office has attempted to negotiate with Parsons without his agent being involved. And then in baseball, the Bisons in action later tonight at 6:30. They are hosting Syracuse, and that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
So the chains are not going to be there. But if we get a situation where the line of gain is threatened or a team wants to call for a measurement, then what we call it is a virtual measurement. So the ball will be placed. The systems will take a picture where the ball is in relation to the line of gain, and then it will provide us that information. So there will be no more of us pulling the chains out, holding it down, and showing. I think, from my understanding, it'll show on the big board, and everyone will see it at the same time.
That is NFL official Sean Smith talking about a non-event. Is how I'm gonna. It's a non-event. This Hawkeye. I mean, just get out of here. You effectively changed nothing. The worst. What are you doing, NFL? Oh, the Bills might have gotten screwed on a fourth down spot. Like, so let's adjust this. No, that's not what's happening. This is not another rule change because the Bills cried after they lost it. No, it's a non-event. I hate it. Something I don't hate. I want to make sure I mention this now. Happy birthday, Marv Levy. Turning 100 tomorrow, Marv Levy, and traveling 2Ks in Canton. They sent like a special customized van for him and his family to travel. His wife Fran, there's a daughter and her husband. Anyway, he's in Canton to celebrate his birthday. I saw a picture of him with Polian and Bill Polian and Jim Kelly. Tim Graham, my buddy with The Athletic, wrote a tremendous piece. Howard Simon has something up at WGR550.com too as well. Hat tip to Howard on Marv Levy turning 100 and being... He's a part of Hall of Fame weekend. They invited him to come be a part of it at 100 years old. And you want to hear the best part? Marv Levy had already agreed to be a part of an autograph signing appearance in Chicago, which is where he lives and has lived for a long time, and on Sunday. So they drove to Canton today. They're there. At least I think they drove today. I don't know the timing of everything, okay? But he's there, and he's going to be a part of the enshrinement ceremony tomorrow. And then they are getting in the van and driving back to Chicago so that he can be a part of this event that he had already committed. He didn't want to back out of the signing thing. And a bunch of other, I think, Kelly, Bruce, Thurman, Andre Reed, Tasker. I'm not sure about Tasker, but a bunch of those guys are going to be at the same event on Sunday. And what an awesome thing. I adored Marv when he was the Bills coach, and just love to see that is happening, and that the Hall of Fame is recognizing him turning 100 and celebrating it, and that he gets to have this time again with all those guys who he means so very much to. It's so great. So check out Howard at WGR550.com and my buddy Tim Graham with The Athletic. Great pieces on Marv and celebrating 100. Just a tremendous deal there. Time for a quickie here. This is West. West, hi. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hi, Bulldog. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I've got a friend I've known for over 3 decades, and he's been a season ticket holder for as long as I've known him. And fortunately, I've been lucky that he's chosen me to go to the home opener with him almost every year.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it is awesome, Bulldog. But my best memory in this stadium was actually the COVID year when they only allowed 6,500 or so people in. I was fortunate enough to be one of those.
The Ravens game. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that was just incredible. And, with only 6,500 people or whatever the number was, it actually sounded like a full stadium that day. And that was just incredible.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us. Wes was talking with Sal about that just about an hour ago. Sal Capaccio, our sideline reporter, and he described, because, he wasn't on the field. He wasn't allowed on the field because of the restrictions. So he was also in the stands. And as he as what, he's running, not exactly with Taron Johnson, but like he was down on the goal line where the ball was caught by Johnson in the end zone. And then he tried to get down to the other, get a vantage point as the play was unfolding and running down to the other end zone. And being able to do that, and with so few people, the memory, it stands out because of how odd it was, right? That there were only that many people there sort of makes it even more remarkable, and that you were one of them that was in the stadium that day is really, really cool. I'm so glad you called to share that with us, because I loved Sal reminiscing about that. I don't know that I knew he wasn't on the field for it, but I don't know that I'd ever talked to him about how it felt like everything was in slow motion, because it just what a moment to have been there for. That's a badge. I mean, 6,500 people, and you're one of them, man. Good for you. Good job. I'm glad we got that in. Let's hit a timeout here. More to come here. I am the Bulldog. This is WGR. Man, I got to tell you, before we got new windows, we thought
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fell to stop me on the street last night. Said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
Josh Allen wore a red helmet. Is wearing a red helmet. Josh Allen's wearing a red helmet. This is not a drill. We knew this, right? Well, I mean, we didn't know he'd wear it today, but we knew that they announced that they're going to wear him for the finale, the final game ever in Highmark Stadium, or at least this version of Highmark Stadium. And so he trotted out today at this return of the blue and red scrimmage, wearing the red helmet. Just wanted to let you know. Have you seen? I don't know if I retweeted it. The Seattle Kraken mascot fishing in a stream with, I think, someone on Twitter. See, I didn't listen. I didn't hear the sound, so I don't know all that happened there. But someone on Twitter commented, said, like, Sabre legend John Hayden. Like, he's on the Kraken, or was last year. Maybe he's there fishing with the mascot. Anyway, they had this idea to take their mascot fishing, and a big bear, I think maybe it could have just been the people, but, I think it's probably that the fuzzy-headed mascot dude is probably what attracted the bear. And it was like, it was in the background, and the guy that's in the shot, not the mascot, usually, like, notices it And they're like, we should maybe move. And they start moving, and then the bear starts following them, and then the bear kind of starts running through the stream. And the people, for my taste, were not moving as fast as I'd like to think I would have been moving if a bear looked like it wanted to maybe, who knows what business it had in mind with this mascot. But it could be a couple of different things. Anyway, pretty scary. I had a bear. I was on my mountain bike in the Smoky Mountains. I have a gravel bike. It's not a mountain bike. But anyway, I was trail riding in Tennessee and went down by this stream. And I'm like, this is cool. Look at this. This is great. Oh, there's a bear. I was like probably 30 yards from the bear at most. Or at least, like, I wasn't that close, but it was in a stream and did not seem to notice me. And my wife was like very eager to see a bear on this trip, but she was hiking in a different part of the park, and I was on my bike, and I did not stop to take a picture. I was close enough to the bear that I thought, like, I've got the moment. There's the bear. I'll tell my wife, and someday I'll tell everybody on the radio, I saw this bear, a big old bear, in a stream in the Smoky Mountains, but I didn't want to get off my bike, unclip my feet from the pedals, make any noise. I just thought, if I'm unclipped here on a trail and this bear notices me, that could be bad. So I don't have pictures. I know pictures, or it didn't happen, but I saw a bear and was I think smart enough to just keep going is how I would end this story. All right, let's hit a timeout. Come back. We'll get you our conversation from earlier with our buddy Sammy Panayotovich from Bet Sweats. That's next on WGR.